What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and today we're heading down to the state capital for the United States. We're heading down to Washington, the Washington Capitals. What could they be up to this offseason? Now, I just watched Locked on Capitals. Shout out to those guys down there. They do some great work. They were talking about Lucas Johansson, and I'm looking at it more the broader picture of the Capitals. I look at the Penguins and the Capitals, their playoff window, not even cup window. I think their playoff windows have both probably closed this year. I went with the assumption that it would happen this year, but I think next year, I think it's going to be really difficult for those two teams to hold on. And the Capitals might look to keep that a little further down the line, maybe with this kind of addition. But I think the Capitals are open to a lot of changes. You look at the amount of injuries they have. Nick Backstrom might not ever be able to play again, which really, really is such a shame. I hate him as an Islander fan, but he's a great hockey player. A lot of respect to him. Nick Backstrom's going to be out. Tom Wilson's going to be out. Carl Hagelin may never be able to play again. He got a stick up to his eye during a practice and might be blind. So I don't know what to say. It's one of those things where the Capitals are kind of a victim of their success, right? They sign these big contracts. They've got all these guys coming back and again, but that mileage does eventually catch up to you. And I want to talk about Kadri today because Kadri is the guy I want to talk about, but I want to talk about the team overall. Even I've heard a lot from Capitals fans. We could trade Carlson. We could trade Oshie. We could trade Kuzi. Those guys are all on the table, of course. But what I'm getting to is if you're going to trade one of those guys, why not trade all of them? Because I hate to say it, if you're going to trade one of those guys, you're taking away from that playoff opportunity, and now it's like they always say you're either better off being the best spot in the NHL standings is second. Winning the President's Trophy doesn't do you very well. Nobody does well with the President's Trophy. Ask the Florida Panthers how they feel about winning the President's Trophy right now. Second place in the NHL and 32nd in the NHL are the two best spots in the NHL standings. You know why? You have the best odds at the first overall pick being 32nd. And the second best team in the NHL didn't win the President's Trophy and is probably one of the best teams in the league. So for Washington, you worry if you trade Kuzi or Oshie or a guy like Carlson. You're depleting from the team enough where they don't make the playoffs, but you're not going all the way through with it. I look at Boston right now as a prime example, right? They made it to the playoffs this year, but they might be losing Bergeron. They're going to be without Marchand. They're going to be without McAvoy. They're going to be without a bunch of their core guys to start next season. So they're probably going to finish bottom 5 in the standings in the Connor Bedard sweepstakes. So the best thing in the Capitals' interest next year, if you're starting the season kind of similar to the Bruins, without Backstrom potentially, without Wilson, without Hagelin, and depending on what they do in between the pipes, I think that's going to have a lot of say in this, because if they sign Kemper $6 million per year, you don't have $9 or $10 million to give to Kadri per year. You can't do both. Again, unless you trade one or two or three of those guys. So, I don't know. I'm just playing devil's advocate here for whether the Capitals should or shouldn't go for it. But this is the report here from... I can't read from far away, guys. I'm an old man. Sammy Silber. Nazem Kadri is a name that stands out as a potential solution for the Capitals this offseason. Now, guilty as charged. I'm kind of using this as leverage because I have made plenty of videos about Kadri to the Bruins. Kadri here, Kadri there. But he does fit the mold of what a lot of teams want. Is a top 6 center that's going to get paid, of course, but can fix a lot of their issues. And I think Kadri, he fits the bill very nicely. And as long as the big bills are there for Kadri, I think Kadri would definitely go to Washington. He's playing with some of the best players in the league. They won the Cup in 2018. They've got some talent there. Kadri could extend the Cup window for the Capitals by himself. But again, the problem is you're going to need subtractions to get the addition of Kadri. You need to move out some salary. And that's where this sort of leans into, where they need to make moves in order to bring him in. And then at that point, is it even worth bringing him in? So, again, that's what you're looking at. I look at the Capitals as a team. Let me go to cap. We're on cap friendly again. That's where I like to be. That's my home. Cap friendly. Okay, so they have their first round pick. They have Winnipeg's second round pick and their third round pick. Now, this sucks because, again, you're potentially trading your first-round pick this year. But do you trade that first-round pick to get rid of a contract? I'm going to talk about the Leafs in a second, maybe doing something similar. Maybe that's what they do. Now, the good thing is Hagelin can go on LTIR. He's making $2.75, so you free up almost $3 million there. You need a new goaltender because all three of your goaltenders are out. Copley, Vanacek, and Samsonov. Of those three guys, I think Copley is the most likely to stay, and he's probably going to play in Hershey. So, if that's the case, they need two new goaltenders. They need some help on the blue line, and I don't know what this is going to be kind of interesting. The Capitals are interesting. Now, the good thing is they do have prospects that can hopefully play in the next couple years. We saw a little bit of Bobby Nardella on the blue line. He spent most of last year in Hershey. They do have to re-sign Lucas Johansson, yes, brother of Ryan Johansson. So they have to figure out what they're going to do with him. So there's two defensemen right there that definitely not top six defensemen, either Johansson or Bobby Nardella. But they're going to be 5, 6, 7 defensemen for the Caps. You're also looking at Alexander Alexiev. Hey, that's a former first-round pick. He's 22 years old. They're probably going to expect a little bit more from him next season. Looking at that blue line, they're losing Irwin, Kempny, and Schultz. So you could fill those three voids right there with those guys I just mentioned. Martin Fehervary, I think we're going to see more of him next year. He might even become the fourth defenseman, even ahead of TVR, Trevor Van Riemsdyk. So, I like the Caps' chances on the blue line. But, here's the problem. Nick Jensen, Fehervary, Orlov, Jensen, they're all on the final year of their contracts this year. So the Caps have to completely rebuild their blue line next year as well. So they're going to rebuild it this year, and they're going to have to rebuild it again next year as well. And the only guy that's a constant is John Carlson, who his contract ends in 2026. So they do have some time there. But that's a name that could get traded. But this blue line's already a little depleted. So do you want to trade him? And here's the other factor. Do they try and trade Dmitry Orlov? Both of those guys have modified no trade clauses, but you free up those two contracts. That's $14 million for the Capitals. Again, you have to reinvest that into your blue line more than likely because you just move those guys out, your top two defensemen. But that's kind of what you're looking at. Forwards-wise, I think they're actually pretty solid. They're losing Marcus Johansson and Johan Larsson. I think they keep Mojo just so he could play the Austin Powers song after he scores because of Mojo. I love that, by the way. That made my day. When I heard that theme song, whatever that is, I don't even know what song that is. It's some like goofy 70s song when he scores goals. You guys can let me know. I absolutely love that. Hendrix Lapierre, Henry Rybinski, Bogdan Trineyev, Cody Clark, who's spent the last couple years in Hershey. He could be a bottom six guy. Alexei Protas, I think they see him as a very good prospect. He's definitely gained a lot of hype over the last 2 years. Garrett Pilon's a bottom six guy. That's kind of it. So maybe it isn't as deep as I thought it was. They do have a lot of guys that can play in the bottom six. Axel Janssen-Fjallby. He was able to score some goals toward the end of the season. That could be a scoring guy to replace Hagelin. So you look around the roster, there are guys that can replace some of the guys leaving and on cheaper contracts. So that could end up being a good thing for the Caps. Not to mention their cap situation. They do have $9 million in cap space. And, you look at who they have to get, it really is a goaltender. That's the only thing they really need to address this year because there's depth forwards and depth defensemen. They definitely have enough for a starter, a $5 or $6 million contract for Kemper or Campbell, or pick your goalie that's available, $5 or $6 million. You could still sign Mojo, and you still have room for another depth addition. But like I said, I think the reason Caps fans want to see a guy like Carlson maybe get traded is that's $8 million they save so they can spend on Kadri. But is that necessarily the right move? Because now you're taking away from the blue line. And that's something that it could prove to be costly. And at $8 million, I don't think that's a pretty good contract for John Carlson, a top defenseman for $8 million. It's actually a fairly cheap blue line when you consider it. The bigger contracts are Orlov and Carlson, and that's it. So with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Caps fans, NHL fans, let me know what you think of Nazem Kadri to the Capitals. I don't think it's a fit. I don't. I think they need to work on that blue line, and I think most Caps fans will agree with me on that. Fix the blue line, add some depth, and obviously getting your starting goaltender situation fixed. I think that's the key to success for the Capitals if they want to keep their cup window open, because it's a very competitive Metropolitan Division going into next season. You look at a bunch of teams that are going to be in the mix. The Carolina Hurricanes, the New York Rangers, the Pittsburgh Penguins and Capitals are kind of in that second tier. And you still have teams like the Islanders who could bounce back next year. The Devils are sort of on the rise. And the Blue Jackets, where are the Blue Jackets next year? Year 2 of Cole Sillinger, year 2 and 3 of guys like Texier and Elvis Merzlikins, and another year of experience for Adam Boqvist. Columbus could be in the conversation next year as well. So the only team that's really not in the running in the East could probably be Philly. And everybody else, there could be room for disappointment in the Metropolitan Division. So guys, let me know what you think. Yes or no to Nazem Kadri. And like I said, who do you think should be the starting goalie for the Caps next season in the free agency market, trade market? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Let's go, Caps.